Hi, everybody. It's Mrs. McKenna here, and today we are going to be talking about fables. I love reading fables. I've loved them since I was a little kid. I've read them to my children, and I just love reading them because they're short, they're sweet, and they come from all different cultures all over the world. So, those are a couple of reasons why I love fables. They are a type of literary genre, just like short stories, novels, epics. They are a type of literary genre, and they are short fictional stories. They could be in poetry or in prose. Most of the fables I have read have been in prose, but I have read a few in poetry, and you'll have some exposure to both of those at the end of this little lesson. Fables feature animals, plants, objects, legendary creatures or animals, plants, or even forces of nature that are anthropomorphized. Again, one of my favorite words. That's when we have something that is not human, given human qualities. Think of kind of personification. Or think of any Disney movie. There's animals that are anthropomorphized in almost any Disney movie, but it's really a lot of animals that are given human qualities and they speak and act and are treated like humans. So that shows up in a lot of these stories. And these fables always lead up to a moral or a lesson at the end of it. And again, these are usually very, very short, but they always have a moral or a lesson at the end. And we call that a maxim, which is a type of saying. And that maxim at the very end shows the moral of the fable. Now, there's certain characteristics of fables that show up in them. They seldom have more than 3 characters because it's such a short story that you can't have a lot of characters in it. So 3 characters is usually the maximum for it. The plot is based on a single incident, and it's because fables are so brief, just one thing happens in it. They are meant to instruct. That is the whole purpose of fables. They are meant to teach a lesson, and again, as an implicit or an explicit moral. So an implicit moral is something that's kind of more hidden and subtle, and you have to think about it and figure it out. Or the explicit moral could be that maxim at the end that tells us literally what the lesson of the tale is. They appear simple, but they are complex. They convey abstract idea in few words, which can be really hard to do. It can be really hard to take a big abstract concept and put it in just a few words, but that's what fables do. They are brief didactic. They teach a moral. They're brief didactic tales in which animals speak as human beings. Again, the anthropomorphized. The humans do appear in some, but not too many. The impersonal characters with no lively personalities. So they're pretty kind of bland characters. They're very one-sided. We don't get into their deeper personalities. Again, it's a short fable. We don't have time to do that. And the animals tend to represent aspects of human nature, which I think those are kind of obvious when we see those. Now, a fabulist is someone who writes a fable. And Aesop, I think, is one of the most famous fabulists. And we've got a sculpture of him here. He died around 564 BCE in Delphi, which is in Greece. There's a famous oracle there, but he wrote quite a few of them. But the first written fables appeared in Greece 200 years before Aesop's birth. So they were around long before Aesop. Even though Aesop is probably one of the most famous fabulists, fables were around before he was even born. And fables were in India and Egypt before they were even in Greece. So even though Aesop is given credit for a lot of fables, which he did do, fables were around long before Aesop was. Our fables contain moralistic verses, which again is trying to teach us a lesson, an either implicit or explicit lesson. And the Jataka tales, which are Buddhist tales, and the Panchatantra tales, which are Hindu tales of India, those are all fables. Jean de La Fontaine, he wrote fables in the 1600s in France, and those were more poetic fables, which we'll look at as part of our assignment after this. Now, these are some of Aesop's more famous maxims. Some of them you may have heard of. And these are the lines that show up at the very end of his fables. No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. I love that one. Slow and steady wins the race. You may have heard that with the tortoise and the hare. United we stand, divided we fall. I've heard a lot of that on political slogans and political campaigns. We hang the petty thieves and appoint the great ones to public office. Ooh, there's some food for thought right there. We often give our enemies the means for our own destruction. Gratitude is the sign of noble souls. Absolutely. Be content with your lot. One cannot be first in everything. So true. A crust eaten in peace is better than a banquet partaken in anxiety. It is not only fine feathers that make fine birds. So, kind of like more than meets the eye. And then you're going to be looking at this is a Disney cartoon. I believe it's from 1934 from Disney Silly Symphonies. And I think it's like about an 8-minute cartoon of the tortoise and the hare. So you'll watch that. And then I'm going to provide some links to Greek, Buddhist, Hindu, and French fables. So you'll read through some of those and you'll watch the tortoise and the hare. And then if you're in level 1, I'd like you to focus on 3 tales of your choosing. They could be any 3. And the level 2, please choose 2 tales of your choosing. Again, any 2. And in your post, I would like you to give me the title of each tale. Give me the maxim or the lesson of each tale. And if it's an implicit maxim, you might have to figure out that lesson on your own. If it's an explicit maxim, which most of Aesop's fables are, it's usually the last line or 2 of that fable. And then I want you to explain how this fable shows the maxim. That's what I'm going to have you do. So tell me the title of each tale, give me the lesson, and how does the tale show that lesson? So that's going to be your post for you to do for me today. So thanks for listening. I appreciate it. And good luck with your post, everybody. Take care. Bye.